Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. And right now we are ba-dum-bum, closing out the first part of The Year of the Dresden.
6A.
6A. Bum, bum, bum. Dun, 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 dun. Now I'm kind of turning it into Friday or Monday Night Football. So
Don't.
dun, 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 dun.
Please don't.
But Laura, before we finish up our discussion of the first, the sixth book in the 6A, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
So I've actually been reading these Darth Vader comics that have been on my libraries on Libby, and that they've been easily accessible. But I read Star Wars Darth Vader Volume 4, so I think that's the end of that collection of comics for Darth Vader. It's by Kieran Gillen, and let me see who the artist is. Kieran Gillen is the author, illustrator Salvador Larroca, and then the cover art was by Juan Jimenez. Really, like, honestly, these are just like popcorn pieces to me. I wouldn't say that any of them I'm like, wow, such great content here. But I do like them. They're fun. I keep going back for more. And I do like a lot of the cover art. I shouldn't say cover art. I like a lot of the art, like in between issues, and the cover art for each individual issue. I think those are really stunning. I do appreciate those where like some of them like, oh, I kind of want to like just get a screenshot of this for my phone background. Pretty nice. But they're fun. I also started after I finished those, I read Star Wars Darth Vader Dark Lord of the Sith Volume 1 Imperial Machine. And this one was like a little bit different because the last series focused on like a connection between Vader and Dr. Aphra, which I liked. And there was also 000 in that series, who is this droid that loves to kill people.
Oh, good.
I love a murderous droid. It's just comical. In this series, it's kind of taken a different route. We're getting more of like the pickup right after Revenge of the Sith, which is interesting in another way because we're seeing kind of more of the evolution of Vader into the villain that he becomes. And I genuinely appreciate the prequel trilogy for giving us more of a glimpse into how Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. And I think some of these comics and the novels are fleshing out a little more as to how someone can become just like so extremely villainous. Because honestly, if you watch that original trilogy, does it make sense that
No.
Darth Vader is that villainous? No, it does not. So I do appreciate these other parts of the Star Wars universe that people are creating that try to like come up with different ideas as to how the character became this way.
Right.
And that's a lot of what this one is doing. And a lot of it is focused on like the creation of his saber in the first one, the first volume. This one is by Charles Soule, and then the illustrator was Jim Chung, just to give them some credit. But again, these are just like kind of popcorn pieces for me where I'm just like, yep, I'll read another one of those. It'll take me an evening.
No time at all.
And then I'll go to bed. And then I also
then I'll have content for the podcast.
Honestly, they're perfect for me just to like go to sleep because I don't have to have like a light on to read either like my book light or something. I can use my Kindle with the light turned down.
Yeah.
And it's still bright enough for me to see, and it's not like keeping my husband awake. And then it's just low enough light where it does make me sleepy. So I do like to read those before bed. And apparently graphic novels of Darth Vader or something that comfort me to sleep. So
good.
But yeah, I've been reading that series. I also got the next volume of a side character's love story.
Oh.
Hannah, you know I love this manga so much. And Nobuko is thinking about the future and trying to decide like what she's going to do because she really loves her job that she's working in, and she is looking at these other people that she works with and seeing how their relationships are evolving and everything, and how they are making choices and ending relationships because they're like, you know what, I like my job, I don't want to be long distance with my significant other. And so she's trying to kind of figure things out herself. And this one we don't really have much of Hiroki in this one, which was unique because this is a love story. It follows a couple who are navigating the ups and downs of like starting a relationship, being shy, getting into the work life balance and balancing school and job hunts and et cetera, et cetera. So it was unique just to have mostly Noboku in this, but I love this series so much and I feel so invested in their stories
I
in a way
do
that
love
I
when
can't
you
explain. Like, I don't think anything about this series is like that, like special or unique, honestly. It's very much a slice of life, but I'm reading this and I'm just like, don't interrupt me, husband. Like I like because I don't want anyone to interrupt me. I'm just like so in on this, like have to read all of it right away because I just love them so much. And all of the characters, even the side characters, are so easy to get attached to. And I just adore it. It's so good.
I feel like you're someone who gets so excited about books in like such a unique way where you like get giddy about people. You're like,
I am
I
very
just
much a
love
person
them
that
so
like
much.
loves
Like,
characters. Like I know people
yeah.
talk about like book boyfriends and stuff like that. Occasionally I have been like, "Oh, I love that." I don't know that I necessarily have like tons of book boyfriends,
Hmm.
but I do like get hyperfixations with characters or series where I'm just like, I would do anything for Nobuko and Hiroki. I love them
Fair
so
enough.
much.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic series, and yeah, I've read 19 volumes of it now because it's so flipping good, and it's so sweet, and just everyone should read that if you just want to read the cutest love story about these people who are incredibly communicative and kind.
Oh, good.
They're just great. Also, Hannah, I we talked last time about how we need to bring up some things that we're just like in the middle of.
Yeah.
Well, something that I've been in the middle of. Have you ever read Dracula?
I have read Dracula. Back in college, I had to write an essay on it.
Okay, so I'm listening to it. It's a long audiobook, so I'm not done with it, but I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah,
And
it's good.
you know, and I've said multiple times on this, I hate vampire stories. So I was a little leery of reading it because my friend was like, I really want to read Dracula for spooky month. And I was like, okay, let's do a buddy read.
Let's make Laura read about more vampires, I
Yeah, I
guess.
hate vampires. This is gonna be 2 stars because I'm like also I'm in a mood where I don't find myself going to classics as often either. But
Yeah.
this book has been pleasantly surprising. Like I have really enjoyed it, and I'm 60% in,
Oh, okay.
and it's also good narration, so that helps, I think, because it's like being acted really well. But I was very shocked to find that, oh, this is actually quite suspenseful and not like overly cheesy vampire-ish. You know what I
Ye-
mean?
I mean, it's the original where like I mean like it's one of the original
Well,
like
I wondered because I was like,
mainstays.
is this the original vampire story or is this like the one that people kind of
It's the one
glom
people
onto?
I think it's the one people glom on to. But like it is very unique because also no one does a real Dracula like character. Like Dracula in the
Hmm.
book is so different than like what we have turned Dracula
Absolutely.
into television wise. Because I
Dracula,
like
like that I thought of was so cheesy. And this is very much like a suspenseful and
hmm
dark and mysterious feel to it. It's not like I don't know, not that over the top like "Hey, I want the suck blood" type thing. Like it's much better than
yeah.
I thought it was going to be.
I
And I
remember
really appreciate that.
I had to do that and then I had to watch the Keanu Reeves Dracula that is like
How
more
was
of
that?
a I remember it was sort of bad, but they were
Mm,
trying to do it similar to like
the
what the
book.
book does, except like
Okay.
a little bit more heterosexual. Because like the book is very like the sucking of blood is very like sexual
Hmm.
undertones, and there are
Hmm.
more
For
than
sure.
just one of them having that. Like it's
Hmm.
complicated. But I think if I'm remembering the book correctly, but in the movie it's like the doctor's wife is who Dracula is obsessed with, and it's like okay, sure, like.
I
whatever.
appreciate like the Renfields even being mentioned in this. Like I think
Hmm.
that's very haunting and like I don't know. I think that whole character study is an interesting thing too, where we're getting these glimpses like of Van Helsing's notes and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, well, this is odd that this is happening with Renfield. Like, why is he acting this way? And I I really like that more so than the like over the top cheesiness that I thought it was going to be, that a lot of vampire stories I think have become. And
Right.
I also just really like the like the boat scene on the I'm not spoiling anything because people know about Dracula. It's been out for a very long time. If I'm spoiling this for you, I'm
How
sorry.
dare you, Laura?
Like
How dare you ruin one
but
of the
the boat
most
scene
famous?
was really like haunting because we're not getting like on the page violence or anything. It's very much just like people are going missing and it's like what the heck is happening? And I think that's so haunting and a much better way to create the suspense
Hmm.
than just like having it blatantly on the page like what the heck happened here. And I also appreciated it too with like some of the people going to Van Helsing that to Dr. Van Helsing that were like, "Oh, this person's been drained of blood. They need a whole blood transfusion. Like, what the heck happened?" That there's very much a mystery element to it
Yes.
that we wouldn't have expected, you
Right.
know. And I just appreciate that so far. And it's been a great narration. And it's a long book, though, for sure.
Yeah, I can't even remember if I've read. I feel like I've read all of it, but I remember like we really had to analyze certain pieces of it,
Sure.
so it's hard for me to remember all of it. I should rediscover it and like listen to it or something. That would be fun.
Pleasantly surprised by it. There's been a
Yeah.
couple of vampire things that I've been involved in recently, like books, and I've been shockingly
Blood Rites.
surprised. That's not one of them. But I'll bring up the others in the future, but I do want to finish the others before I start to like give reviews on them. But Bram Stoker, he doesn't need a full review of his entire book. He can deal with it. Like I'm sure Bram
You
Stoker's
sure
fine.
about that? Maybe
And
he's really
he's gotten
dying to
so many
hear
reviews. I'm sure
Laura's.
he's okay. Like
I don't
he's fine. He's
know.
not waiting on Twitter for me to review him or anything. It's
He could
fine.
be Laura, just waiting for you to
He's
review.
fine. He's not like, hey, this is just me
Hey,
sending over a
Laura.
DM. Have you had a
Hi,
chance to read
Laura.
Dracula? Hey, brother.
Hey,
No.
brother.
But I really like Dracula so far, and I'm shocked that I'm even saying this because I am first to admit that I do not like vampire stories.
I
So
never knew that about you.
you never knew that.
Yeah,
That's
this is
completely
shocking and
new
brand new
information.
information. Yeah,
New information.
how did we go over a decade of friendship without me knowing
I
that?
know. Yeah, wild. But another thing I've been watching and really enjoying hacks on
Oh
HBO.
yeah. I I forgot I was
I'm
watching it
just in
back
the
in
first
season one.
season,
Yeah.
but
That
I
assistant was really funny in Chicago when she was doing stand-up game shows.
oh really?
So, yeah.
I
Megan
don't know
Stalter.
anything about any of the characters, honestly, like any of the actors, except I recognize Jean Smart, and then I recognize the assistant who
Mhm.
that you're talking about, because I followed her on Instagram for the
Yeah.
longest time and was always watching all of her videos and everything. She's so funny. I can't even remember her name now.
Megan
For
Stalter.
yes, Megan Stalter, that's it. Yes, she's fabulous. And just hilarious too, because even my husband, he's like coming in and out and watching just pieces of the show. He's not watching the whole thing, but he'll just laugh at things that she says and like kind of shake his head like, what the world? Like, come on. And I think that's just like the perfect reaction that if you can get a reaction out of somebody just briefly who's coming in and out of the show, you're doing a good job.
Right.
So yeah, all the actors though are pretty good on that show. And I do like the way that it's kind of portraying a new a merging of a new and old form of comedy and how they kind of have to work together to figure out the right balance of what works for them and also they're developing their own relationship,
Right.
but it's fun so far. I think there are a lot of like deeper undertones to this show also obviously because we're dealing with a lot of issues that both of these people have that they're kind of in denial about and they're dealing with a lot of stress and questioning of the world and themselves. So it's so far a really interesting show and I've been enjoying it. And I also have been
Good.
enjoying Agatha all along, but I need to watch the next episode, and I'm mad that I'm
We're
not.
stuck here talking about Dresden's.
I'm talking about Dresden
Laura,
Files and
you
not
suggested
watching
we record
Agatha
today.
all along. I know. We're trying to get this recorded so that
I
I
know.
can hopefully allow Hannah some peace and not be bugging her during her wedding week.
I mean, we'll still have to record Scream, so but that's not bugging. That's just joy.
Yeah, exactly. It's no work involved. It's all joy for Hannah.
It's
So,
it's my favorite movie, or it's one of my favorite movies.
yeah. But
Yeah.
Hannah, what have you been reading and watching and or enjoying?
So for reading, we recorded not too long ago, a
Yeah.
little peek behind the scenes, but I have finished an audiobook called Divine Rivals by Rebecca
Hmm.
Ross.
Okay.
This is a YA novel that follows this girl. It's a very unique world where like these gods have been like asleep for years and now they're warring again. And at the beginning of the novel, her brother goes to fight in the war because he was called to do it by one of the gods, who's like the goddess of music and things like that. And she's working at a newspaper and she has a rival. And then you find out that like somehow he's been receiving letters that she's been sending. Like she puts a letter in a wardrobe, like to quote unquote send it to her brother. And they keep disappearing. So she thinks her brother's getting them, but it's really the rival. And then it's just kind of all about their, love story and writing back and forth and this war that's going on. And I would say it's very like World War II-esque in the way it
Okay.
is set up. It's also very shop around the corner, aka you've got mail of them.
Okay.
Because of the whole like, oh, we're rivals, but one of us knows that the other one is sending them
Hmm.
letters and they have this information about them. It was really cute. I thought it was a fun little young adult, romantasy.
Hmm.
It was a good time. It was quick. I really liked the narrators. They had two British narrators, and I really liked the accents. I wouldn't say it's like the best book I've ever read, but it was definitely fun, and I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm already on a waiting list for book two because it's left off on a cliffhanger, and we're going to actually get to
Hmm.
see the gods because that was I think my favorite part of it was the like god and world building of this book, which makes sense because
Hmm.
I'm an adult reading about a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old falling in love, and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, go off kings and
Hmm.
queens, but I'd rather learn about this goddess who tricked this evil god into, giving her what she wanted and then taking what she needed. I was like, yeah, I'm all for that part, but the
Doesn't
romance.
Rebecca Ross also write like other Greek retellings? I feel like you've mentioned another one, or maybe I'm
I've
lying.
never read
Okay.
any of her
I'm just
works
lying.
before. But she has read quite a few, and I do think she like has these types of books very much in her oeuvre of like light
Hmm.
world building, god and goddess type fantasy type thing. So,
Okay.
good time. She's a good writer. I didn't mind reading these books, but they're also, I don't think they're going to like live indelibly in my brain, but I did
Just a
want to
fun
listen
time
to them.
then.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need a fun, light romantasy book that's pretty well written. So,
Hmm.
um, I, I did like the back and forth of their letters. I thought that was really sweet. And the like, it is fun to read books like this where it's kind of introducing kids at a young age to like to things like shop around the corner or you've got mail. Like I remember
Hmm.
that being like a very specific time in my life where like I've seen You've Got Mail quite a few times. And then when I found out that it was like a remake of something new, it was fun to like learn about the source material. And I
Hmm.
could kind of see the where this is similar to that, where it's like playing on tropes that we've already seen before, but like young kids get to experience it at like an age appropriate reading level. And then as they go on, they'll learn like this has been done before. And if they're super into this one, then they might be into You've Got Mail, and then they might be into other, books by that. So I think it's fun to read for like what it could possibly do for like young readers. So that's what I
Yeah.
really liked about that. And then for watching, I have been a theater person for the past couple of weeks because I went and
Yay.
saw Beetlejuice the musical a couple weeks
Yay.
ago. It was a ton of fun, Laura. I will say I didn't love the first act as much as I loved the second act. I thought it really came into its own in the second act. I thought the first
Okay.
act was a lot of setup. Like it was just a lot of like, and now we meet this, and now we have to learn this, and now we have to learn this. But
I
The
know
music.
absolutely zero about the musical. I only have seen Beetlejuice the movie.
So I mean, the musical is definitely not a one for one of the movie. Like there are definitely like flavors of it, but
Okay.
Beetlejuice the musical, like first off, the two people who die, like they don't die in the same way because of you have to be on the stage. And Beetlejuice has like a better motivation throughout the play where he's like, this is my goal. And it's like, oh, okay, he's not just uh he's he's not just Michael Keaton just sowing havoc. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to do this and I have to get them to do this for me so that like
There's
so
actual motivations.
there's actual motivations and he's kind of like breaking the fourth wall the entire time, so he's very jokey about like, oh, you guys just came to see the actual, like, oh, they haven't seen the movie, guys, and he'll make like side off jokes, which is really effective for a
Hmm.
Beetlejuice type character. And I really like how they made this music around getting like someone to use like a raspier voice. I think that's really fun.
Hmm.
But like Lydia in this is a little bit more of a grieving person where like she
Okay.
recently lost her mom and the dad isn't quite remarried yet. Like she's lost her mom within the last year. Um,
Okay.
and she's still kind of grieving her and like wants to be with her. And she doesn't really want to be in this old house with this random life coach and her dad. Um,
Okay.
and so that was really good changes for the overall plot. But in the second act, it just hits its stride a lot more. It's a lot like jokier, has a lot more movement and more like scenes that aren't just like, oh, here's us in the house for an entire act, you know? Um,
Which
so
I'm glad about that because I often feel like I don't like the second act as much.
yeah, I know, because it's usually just like faster, but for some reason I really liked the second act a lot more. And I think it just like poked fun at it, like, because in the second act, it's when he brings up, like, I have to marry Lydia. And like the entire stage like stops. And he's like, it's
They're
like
like,
a
what?
green, he's like, it's like a green card thing. It's not like that, guys. It's a green card thing.
Yeah,
And that's the whole point of it. He keeps being like, no, it's green card. It's a green card. It's like, okay, well,
that's
good.
funny.
Like you updated some of the grosser elements of it.
Yeah.
I felt bad. The actress who plays Lydia, obviously, it's going to be a younger actress, and you could tell she was very green. Like she was definitely like trying to hit every song, like it was the last song she
Okay.
was ever gonna sing. And it's like, oh, like she's so young. I could see where like sooner or later she will
Like she
mature
was
into
straining her
not
voice or
straining her voice a little bit and just being like a little loud in some
mm,
areas where it was like
okay.
you could pull back and like a power song doesn't need to be powerful by the loudness of your voice. It can be
Sure.
just the power with which you're singing, which I mean, I'm a 33-year-old woman judging a Broadway actress. It's not like she was bad
Hmm.
at it, but that was like my only thing of like, oh, okay, I could see where she has some room to grow. But I really liked the play. Um, I was big on TikTok, the like, all you gotta do is say my name. Well, I don't know your name. So like that's one of the songs. So that's a fun one. I had a good time with that.
I'll have to look
Uh
up the soundtrack.
yeah, I think you might like the soundtrack. I think there are some good bangers in there. So that was fun. And then for other theater like things, I went to a Labyrinth in concert show. My
I love
fiance
that.
found this. It's like you just watch the movie The Labyrinth, but they have like a rock
Hmm.
band, and we didn't really know what it was going in. I was like, oh, are they just gonna like play over the music? But they actually like it's so effective the way because they're just doing like instrumentals throughout the movie. So
Yeah.
like they
They do
make
this with
tension.
they've done this for a long time with other properties too, because I know Lord of the Rings has done this for a long time
Yeah. And so
with
it's
like an
similar to that.
orchestra.
And I love The Labyrinth. Like I've watched that since I was in high school. I remember my sister used to work at like the hometown video store. And I would constantly ask her to bring home The Labyrinth because it was one of those movies that my mom wouldn't buy for me because she didn't get it.
Hmm.
But my sister would get the movie for free. And so
Oh
she would
yes,
just
we
bring
know
it home.
you've shared this before, Hannah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't, I'm
Oh no,
sorry.
that's okay.
But I just love The Labyrinth so
I love your
much.
love for it.
It's, it's
That's
so
why I was glad
good.
when you told me the other day that you went to this. I'm like, oh, that's fun. I
That's
love when
like
you get to do things like that that are fun.
It's right up Hannah's alley. And
Yes.
my fiance bought me a t-shirt. I was really excited for it. I just, oh God, Dance Magic Dance is a banger of a song, and you could make me have a good day any day by just singing Dance
Just
Magic
singing that.
Dance. David Bowie, what were you doing in that movie? That girl is
You
a
know what?
child.
Jim Henson has it figured out.
I may have watched. that a little bit under some type of influence, not alcohol.
Hmm.
And it was the first time where I was looking at it though, and I was like, well, those are puppets. And I was like, why am I now recognizing that they are puppets? Like,
You never
even though,
realized it before.
well, like, no, but I didn't like see the movement. Like, Hoggle is obviously on strings. And I was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
I've never really noticed that he's just like sitting there on strings. And
That's
that
amazing.
was very funny for me to experience. So I enjoyed it a lot. It was a good time. I highly recommend everyone should go do something like that because great, just 10 out
Yeah,
of
you
10 good
mentioned you're like, oh,
experience.
they're doing a Lord of the Rings showing up here. I'm like, oh yeah, I would love to do that.
I don't know if it's like the movie showing, but they're doing like a huge like concert type thing. So and
I know
they
that
might be
there's lots
showing,
of things where it's like the orchestra just plays the music, but there are, like you're talking about, there are shows where they have the movie playing Lord of the Rings, and then there's like an orchestra or band playing music alongside it. Like
yeah.
that exists for LOTR also.
Okay, well, I'll have to keep an eye out for that and see if it's something similar because I also know that they did something where they were going to show like major scenes from Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's in a
Cool.
showing tomorrow, and I haven't watched it all, so I can't go because I don't know what
Yeah, you
famous
don't
scenes
want
there are.
spoilers.
Spoilies, but they're doing one for that. So I did wonder if they were going to show like certain scenes with the music, but you never know with stuff like that. We kind of went on a whim and it could have been a total bust. Like I remember my dad went and saw the like Vincent van Gogh experience and he was like it was
Hmm.
just a bunch of screensavers on a wall.
That stinks.
So you
I
never
know
know with
that
that.
there are specific things like that though that I've seen online people have reviewed and they're like, this is not the thing you're looking for. This is the one you're looking for. Like
Yeah,
there are, like you're saying, there are specific things that you have to get the right experience one.
exactly.
I don't
No,
know
I'd agree
which
with that.
entertainment group they are or whatever, but
But yeah, I'm enjoying all of those things. And I'm enjoying closing out this chapter of the Dresden Files. So, shall we dive in to Blood Rites? Ba, ba,
let's oh,
ba.
can I mention one more thing that I've
Yeah,
been
go ahead.
enjoying recently?
No,
So I've been
that time is done now, Laura. You must move on.
okay. Well, I'm going to do it anyways. Uh, anyone who's on TikTok and loves like the book talk stuff needs to follow Brit and her books. It's just so freaking funny. I don't know why this was like one of the first people I came across on TikTok that I followed, but it's literally just a whiteboard and
Oh yeah.
she will list at the top people I don't want book recommendations from or people I want book recommendations from. And she uses this little pointer and will tap the board for emphasis. And it's the funniest stuff I've ever heard. And I just love it so much. I love her content. They're the simplest videos, but they're so fun and so correct. I like some of the takes that she has. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You don't want book recommendations from people who like pineapple on pizza. Like nobody should
Oh
be trying
no.
to mix fruit with pasta sauce. Like I agree. I agree.
I agree as well. No, 10 out of
And it's
10. No
just
notes.
like stuff like that where it's just like, yep, completely correct. And I absolutely love those videos. So check out Brit and her books because just so funny. One of my favorite TikTok finds.
Laura has sent me multiple of her videos.
Hmm.
So
I love her so much.
I can attest that she is actually fangirling. So
Yes. I love Brit and her books. But that's it.
awesome.
Okay, now we have to
Okay.
talk about Dresden. I'm sorry. I will quit
So
derailing.
do you want to talk about I don't even know where to start. This book is a mess.
It is a mess. So, Hannah, the first week we recorded talking about the plot, you were like, I actually really like this one because it's
It's
kind
a
of a
who
little
done
bit tighter
it.
and it's more of a whodunit. And I was like, I don't know. I don't really like it so far. There's a lot of like, I shouldn't say I didn't like it, but I was a little iffy where I was like, I don't know. It feels like we're gonna get back into the vampire of it all. And literally that happened.
I know. I don't know what his obsession is with vampires, like why he's just trying to remake Dracula a bunch, but um
But not, we didn't read Dracula, I don't think.
I think this book could have been interesting, but there's just so much mess. Like it
The,
just
it's like we've said a million times, Butcher brings in too many plot lines, and it's not that any of the ideas are bad or that they're like poorly written, but they suffer because they're not given enough time on the page and they have to share all this space with these other 40 plot lines that are happening. And then it gets a little too convoluted, a little too confusing, and we're not getting the info that we need from each of the plot lines.
And honestly, I would give it a little bit more of a pass if we didn't have the random Mavra scenes because
Yes.
I actually understand where it's like, oh, white court vampires, they seduce people with their spit. I've been re-listening to stuff to get
Hmm.
to get TikTok videos for us, and I recently re-listened to the part of Thomas licking a woman and being like,
Yeah.
"Oh, so sexy." And I was like, "Oh, I forgot that they have
Yeah,
magic
they have
spit."
magic fluids.
Um, and so like I could get where it's like, oh yeah, of course the White Court is working on an adult film set. Totally. That
Hmm.
makes sense. I thought it was actually pretty unique to have Laura show up and have Harry
Hmm.
be like, I'm among white vampires or sorry, I always call them
White
white
court.
court vampires. I think that makes sense. But then to suddenly be like, oh, Mavra also wants to kill me in this book. I'm like, okay, too
Yeah.
many things. Like you had
Hmm.
enough there. We didn't need more villains.
Well, you mentioned previously, I think I'm a little less willing to give credit here than with all these plotlines than you are, but I do appreciate the take that you had in maybe the last episode where you mentioned that the way that the books are structured is very much along the lines of like TV at the time. And I
Yes.
really like that take because I had not thought about that. That's something that was totally not on my radar, but it makes a lot of sense. But the problem is when these books are not that long. So
No.
I feel like we're dealing with so much. This is like a 30-minute episode that we're trying to squeeze all of this into, and I need like 5 episodes for
Yes.
all of this. And again, it's not that anything is like a bad idea. I think that honestly, if we pull apart all of these storylines, they're very unique. And
Yeah.
I would give Butcher a lot of credit for coming up with some of these things because they're pretty creative. But
Yeah.
I just feel like when you start to clump all of them together, for me especially, this got so confusing at times where I was like asking you, like, um, what's the difference between these vampires? I'm unsure, and
Yeah.
I don't know what happened at this point. Why did somebody have to take their pants off? Like, I don't understand because things are
The
going
millimeter
too
of cloth.
fast.
Um, yeah, I agree. There are so many parts where like the worst part is the black court stuff because that's
Hmm.
the stuff with Murphy. Like that's why
Yeah.
Murphy is suddenly brought into this. And again, you're right. Technically I'm right. Like it is the TV version of like, oh, she's become a series regular, so she has to show up in this episode for some
Yep.
reason. So like, oh yeah, we're just gonna have her do a final showdown and have her be like, oh, we found out that my daddy is actually was a black cat person. And like I think that's good because we want to see more motivations from Murphy. The one thing I didn't need a motivation on was like, I'm horny and I can't get any. Like,
We need to talk about Karen Murphy because, okay, so Karen Murphy is now currently Dresden's main love interest, I would assume. Since Susan's out of the picture, we're working towards Karen Murphy being the love interest because now he's
yeah.
seen her in a different light since he's seen her in her panties. So at
How
last
we
he's seen
all
the
fall
light.
in love.
But he's seen those lovely pale legs and her butt that she's clenching constantly.
Oh my God. How does the butt work?
Like, you even had me going for a while there where I was like, how is that possible? That doesn't seem like that's what was happening. You're like, it's not. But
Her butt is just so tight, Laura, that she can't
yeah,
help but clench it at all times.
right.
Um,
I don't know. I just feel like the things that were brought in about Karen in this like did not work for me because we bring in her family, which is a lot. We know a little bit about her family because we've probably gotten more background on her than we have any of the other characters, maybe.
I mean, I
I
would say Michael a little
Oh,
bit.
Michael, yeah, that's
He,
true.
I mean, we know that he's a terrible father, and that's
Yeah,
pretty big news.
he's a
So,
somewhat of an absentee father.
yeah.
Just hanging out with
He's
Terry
just
Dresden all the time.
he's just running off to St. Louis and
But I mean, like
leaving
we've
random.
gotten a little bit of background info on like Karen's living situation, how she's living in her grandmother's home, right?
I think Yeah, it's grandmother or aunt. I can't remember
Okay.
which.
And
Yeah.
there's some like descriptions on like how it was decorated and everything. Now we're like thrust into her family situation a little more, and it's become now that she's very concerned about
Being single.
being single and that her sister really sucks, and also her parents kind of
Yeah.
suck, and I just don't like how any of it went down, and it feels weird that she's like all about maybe hooking up with a guy that has treated her badly because she just wants to get some, and I didn't like that either, and I just thought none of it worked for me with Karrin this episode, this
This episode,
this
yeah.
episode,
Here's what you
this
missed on
book.
Dresden.
Yeah. I didn't like any of the Karrin stuff this
Yeah.
time.
So again, I always
She's still
try to
effective
say
as a
like,
character and was doing things that I don't think that we always see women getting to do.
yeah,
But at the same time, not anything groundbreaking by any means. And also, there's just so much of it that is kind of reductive that I think it almost cancels out. Like the panties thing, the wanting a mean guy to have sex with her, like that is too much. The whole
ladies
family
never like the
situation.
nice guys.
Yeah. Hmm.
So the thing about this is like again, product of its time. I feel like we're beating a dead horse at this point, which is probably why we're
Absolutely.
taking a break. But like Karen Murphy is what strong women were like. That's what happened to strong women around
I
this
know.
time. Like,
How unfortunate.
I know because you and I have brought up like Sex in the City before because I watched Sex in the City and I'm like,
Hmm.
well, they were doing it on Sex in the City where like there was a Samantha character and she had sex and didn't feel bad about it. But I was like, yeah, and she was a groundbreaking character for the
Yeah.
time because she was like a lot of people's first experience with a person who did not believe in monogamy and was a
Hmm.
woman and was just
Hmm.
like, I
Hmm.
don't really believe in dating. And like people talk about her treatment to this day because it was very much like we must punish the whore complex of like many of
Right.
her relationships and many of her things, you know. So like I get where back in this day it wasn't talked about that like a strong, powerful woman like Murphy who's seen some like stuff can go have sex if that's what she wants to do. No
Right.
one is stopping her from
I'm
doing
not
that.
saying she can't do that. I'm saying I don't like that the person
No.
that she is like, yeah,
But like
him.
that's the
Because
thing.
I'm
It's
like, he
like
treated you awful.
I think it's disingenuous to pretend like a character like this who is strong, who knows her worth,
Hmm.
wouldn't know that she can go have sex if she wants to. Like
Yeah.
it's pretending that like sex equals monogamy or sex equals
Y-
relationship because a huge part of this is like I saw my sister with someone and it made me realize that I've really shut myself off from finding someone. And it's like, no, it just kind of sounds like you realize you haven't been touched in a while. And that's
Yeah.
like, and I think it would have been more effective to have this character and be like, I realize I've shut down from people and having a connection with people and having it not from some asshole of a man, but like something else
Yeah.
happens to her where she's like, oh, I've shut myself off from relationships other than physical ones because I don't trust the world we live in anymore because of everything I've seen. Like, I would believe that a lot more than
Yeah,
Murphy
but
being
that doesn't
like,
happen.
that doesn't happen. It's just like, oh, I'm really sad that no boy liked me. And it's just
Or,
so
we've previously learned that she has PTSD from horrible things that have happened in
right.
previous books, so we could have played a little more into that being
Hmm.
like a catalyst of some of this, but it isn't really even mentioned that much anymore.
And again, like
So,
it's so interesting to hear like my relationship with my mother has changed after seeing all this. I thought that was a wonderful
mhm.
plot line. And then it just gets
Oh
shoved
no.
out the window for her mom to be like, your sister is happy with
Hmm.
your ex-husband. How dare you be upset because your
So
sister's
freaking
dating
weird.
your ex-husband? Like, that's weird.
And then they all kind of gang up on her. I don't like
Yeah.
it.
I don't, and like, that's a weird book logic that I see in so many things of like, it would be totally normal if you dated your sister's ex-husband. Like, in what world is that
I don't
normal?
understand where that's normal, but okay.
I don't know, but it happens a lot and I hate it. Like I remember I read a book where that happened recently and I was like the worst part of this book was she has had sex with this man's brother and now she's having sex with him and I think that's
Do you think it's
gross.
because it gets into like the scandalous part of it? Because I know I mentioned this like when we recorded our TV Tuesday with Connor Kaplan on Shogun, that there was this show back in I, I think I said the 70s, but it was the early 80s called The
Okay.
Thornbirds, where this
Yeah.
like gets in a relationship with this woman and it's considered scandalous, because he can't leave the church, whatever. And I wonder if it gets more into like this whole like family sharing situation. It's more into like the scandal of it all, that it seems forbidden, you know what I mean? That's
Yes.
why it's brought up often. I can't recall reading any other book that's had this. You might point one out to me that maybe I have read. I don't know,
I don't
but I'm
know.
not recalling off the top of my head anything like this.
It's a really strange thing, but I think usually it's a scandalous thing. And this one, I don't think it's scandalous because everyone around Murphy is acting like she's a huge drama queen
Like
for
she's the
being
problem.
bothered by this. But also like it doesn't lend itself like no one calls out the fact that like yeah, Murphy, of course it's weird that your sister is dating your ex-husband. But like you can't fault her for dating an older man when you were married to an older man when you were
Right.
17. She was married to a
Yep.
30-year-old man. That's a crime. Like I don't
Hmm.
understand why that's not talked about more. It's just like this weird thing of like Murphy is this bastion of goodness, but all of her trauma is no
Yeah.
longer important. Like it's very strange.
No, that's a very good point. And honestly, it's almost like the minute her trauma is done, it's like, but don't think about that anymore.
Yeah. It's
Like
another TV
when you were,
episode.
possessed
Like
in Grave Peril, don't think about that anymore. You're over it.
yeah.
Like, okay.
And like her mom, and again, I mean, this is very early 2000 stuff with magic systems where the parent is like, I just worry about them. And the only way I can stop worrying about them is if they're married. And it's like, well, that's not the only
Is that
way.
the like why does
Like,
that make you worry less?
yeah, I don't know because you think they'll stop doing it because then they have children and then they care about it. Like it's just very
Hmm.
disingenuous and very
It's
weird.
interesting to me how like the world thinks that people who are child free or childless don't care about things.
Yes.
I hate that take because it's like, um, then why are we doing things at all? Why do we have interests? Why do we have hobbies? Why do we have jobs? Why do we do anything at
That's
all if we
that's
don't
why we're
care?
not supposed to be able to vote anymore, Laura, because
Yeah.
like
Why do I pay taxes, JD
right,
Vance?
like no,
If I don't have a vested interest in the future, I don't want to pay taxes anymore.
here's the thing, I do pay for many children to go to school and I want to
Yes.
do that for the future of America, but that doesn't mean that my vote doesn't count because I don't have someone actively participating in that.
Um,
But like
but no, this even permeates into like books too. Not even if it's like saying it outright like that, like were piling on JD Vance, but
who
but
deserves it?
who deserves it? Absolutely. Go put on more eyeliner. Um, but if we like just think about it from the context of like how it's mentioned about Karrin, it's like why would she not care about the things, and why would you feel like she needs to be a wife or a mother in order
Mhm.
to, you know, settle down and you not be worried about her? Like I don't understand why that has to permeate into a
Everything.
fantasy story.
Well, and again, like I do think you're right. So much of this could be incredibly interesting and dynamic because if you think about it, like having a character this young who
Hmm.
is a little bit older than Harry, but is still considered a viable love interest to him, who's
Hmm.
been married multiple times. I actually think that's really interesting. I
Well, and
just
she's also
think,
achieved a lot in terms of her career, as far as we
yeah.
know, and is considered somewhat well respected by her peers,
Hmm.
and is, kind of in a position where she, I think, has some conflicts with the goings on in the Chicago Police Department as well,
Hmm.
which I think is, I mean, considering our current climate, like very interesting,
Yeah.
especially if Butcher were to have dealt delved a little more into that at that time, that would have been really, really cool. But I think that this is a character that needs to be developed more and is
Yeah.
just not given the credit and is considered more of just like token girlfriend.
Token girlfriend. And like token, she could be a lovable, viable interest for me if I
If
wasn't
I
so
saw
sad.
her with her panties off, those or with her pants off and saw those panties. Yeah, like it's one of the you know what it is, Hannah? It's the she takes off the glasses and now she's hot.
Yes. Yes, that
That's what
is
it
very
is.
much what this is. And that's the thing of like, she's hot before we find out she can wear dresses. Like, that's the
Yep.
whole point of her. But like, Harry, before he sees her in a feminine type of space, is
Hmm.
like, she's like a nice aunt with her
Yep.
hair. And then it's like, oh, wait, she could be a woman with breasts and an ass. And it's just like,
It
yeah,
also makes me wonder, and now that I'm like, it's literally the she's all that glasses off
yeah.
situation, but I'm thinking to maybe just giving Butcher a little more credit. Is this something that, as the Susan plot kind of developed, he was like, you know what, I need to work something in for Dresden to have
Mm.
some kind of lady love in his life, that I'm going to make this about Karrin. That could be the situation, but I'm honestly leaning more towards it's a she's all that.
Yeah, I do think it's a she's all that. And we could be wrong. And maybe they never get together. We could also be wrong about that.
You know what?
But
I'm
like,
calling it now. I think they get together and I'm
I
sad.
think they have sex at least one time. But again, I know a couple spoilers. So
Uh,
because I accidentally,
it's
I mean, I'm
because they know
usually the
they
ones who look
the
at the
spoiler
wiki.
was they
So
have sex at least one time.
no, that's not the spoiler. I just like, there are certain things that I know about the series where I'm like, oh, really? Okay. Can't wait to see that in
Hmm.
10,000 books.
I
Um,
don't know any spoilers. I've been doing a good job staying off of Wikipedia about this, so good for me.
I have to do the plot line, so like I don't have
Yeah,
that option
writing it
because
out. Yeah.
sometimes I get confused, and then I also like
Well, yeah,
looking
because
up.
the character names are also similar.
Yeah, and so it's very hard. So sometimes I have to be like, "Who's Mavra?" And then I Google it, and it's like, "Oh, well, now I know that." Like,
Hmm.
I wanted to look up an article on Justine, and I found out that Thomas was Dresden's brother. So,
Whoops.
but then I kept a lid on it for multiple books, so
That's
I
good.
want to pat myself on the
You know what?
back.
That's good because I would have spilled the beans immediately.
You would have, like, so that's
I
why we
don't
have
even
the jobs we
intentionally do
have.
it. It just comes out.
Yeah, you like back to summer nights where I'm like, I'm really glad that the godmother isn't here, and you're like, well, sure, Hannah, and I'm like, well, she's coming up soon,
Well,
so
I am terrible at keeping a secret. Not intentionally,
no, it's
friends.
okay. Um, there's a joke that one of my sisters always ruins Christmas on accident, like it's never on purpose, but um, so yeah, I wish we had more for Karen. I want more for
Yeah,
her than
justice for
Dresden.
Karrin.
Because I do think she's an interesting character, and I think she has like certain
I think
interesting
we both
parts.
like her.
Yeah. And like if Dresden or if Butcher would just like not make her so sexual, that is a problem. Like he
Yeah,
just makes people sexualized, but mostly
everyone is
women.
sexualized. Like honestly, Dresden takes like one look at a woman and he's immediately sexualizing them. And it kind of does it make you feel insecure? It makes me feel a little insecure thinking like, are people literally just instantly like sexualizing others where they're like, well, she had beautiful breasts and lovely legs, but
I think
I had to ask her questions about this. I'm like, do people do that instantly? That makes me feel so weird.
I don't think people are normally going around that
I mean, I don't
sexualizing.
do that. But
I mean, I do. No, I'm kidding. Could you
I'm
imagine if
just
I
like,
was like, you don't do that?
what? I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like,
Yeah. No, I don't think people do this as much as I mean, like, if you think about it,
it
how
seems a unique thing to Dresden specifically. Like the instant that he's introduced to another character or something, he's immediately commenting on their appearance and either like thinking about sleeping with a woman or comparing himself to a man because it's an instant threat for him to be with
I mean,
somebody with another man who is attractive.
in his defense, in this book, he's literally around like sex workers and not saying that like sex workers don't have multifaceted personalities, but he is on the set of an adult film. So I could see where sexualization for
It
these
happens in the other
characters,
books though, Hannah,
right? I know. They're like I'm
which is
only giving
why I
him the
can't excuse it.
at least he found the proper location for that
I
objectification in this
suppose
particular book.
I
but also not the proper place because like this is a workspace and like people are like I don't know. I go back and forth on that where I'm like treat
Yeah.
people appropriately, but then you hear like Kelly Clarkson talk about how she went to her first HR meeting and she told the HR professional to never go on tour with anyone because they would faint.
Oh, I don't like
Um
that.
so that's just the like treat people the way you want to be treated in a
Yeah.
professional workspace and don't only care about the mother. Can we talk about the fact that like Emma was just there to be a mother who died? Like what was that? What was the
There were
actual
a lot of kind of throwaway characters in this that,
because every single woman had to die besides the
yeah.
like quote unquote crazy ex-wives.
Well, and it makes me wonder too, for seemingly someone who's very focused on the lives and treatment of women, why does he continue to write so many books where the women are mistreated and dying?
Because that is a very specific like I have to look at this because I care very much, but then it's just
Okay.
fixated. Like it's again it's the trauma porn aspect of books sometimes where like why do white people create black characters who die in books because we want to make you care about them, but the only way we can make you care about a black character is to kill them off. Like it's it's so bad. So I
It
feel
is
like
really bad.
yeah. And I feel like that is definitely something that happens in these books where it's like, oh, we have all these women characters, but at least four of them will no longer be on the page by the time we get to the end of this book.
I suppose. I just
Because
feel like it's
do,
very lopsided, you know what I mean? I obviously in this book it's extremely lopsided, but like
yeah.
the treatment of women, and it's also like Dresden is constantly bringing up that he does not like to see, he's a good guy. He likes to see women treated well. He doesn't like to see women treated poorly. He doesn't like to see women harmed. Women and children shouldn't be harmed. And I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, I don't recall tons of men being
Yeah, I'm trying to think,
harmed.
did
I
were
like,
men ever killed in this book?
I mean, the
Some
villains,
bodyguards,
the
but it was like
villains
so
are usually
like
men.
the villains are usually men. They're usually but like the main villain, he didn't get killed. He has a lot of characterization. He's continuing on.
Hmm.
I guess Mavra is someone who continues on because she's probably still alive. But like the entire purpose of this book was
But the people
these
that are undergoing trauma for the most
yeah,
part
are
it
women.
are women or hairy.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And poor
Yeah, I'm
Justine,
just
like
coming across this now, like that this is what's happening. This is just coming off the dome. So
no, no.
I think if people are able to give some stats on what the actual statistics of this are, like that would maybe help me because I'm just based on my current memory, I'm like, I think it seems a little lopsided here, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're right. Well, especially in this one where it's like it's the XY. Well, the XYs are technically part of the big bad,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still
It doesn't, I don't know that it necessarily opens you up to being a victim, does it?
no.
I don't know. I
I
don't
don't know.
know how to feel about that in general.
Yeah, and I really hate the like I really hated the discussion of like the love, quote unquote, between Justine
The whole
and
Justine and Thomas thing is
so
quite bad.
upsetting.
It's quite bad. And I don't know if I even find the whole like if you find true love, then you don't have to be a vampire anymore. I don't know how to feel about that even.
I think
I
it's fine because like a lot of times they have certain people like this book seems very much built on the you could always have the temptation of being a vampire without actually being a vampire,
on
which
the
we have
loophole of it
with
all.
well, and like with Susan, I'm thinking of like
That's
it's
what I'm
this is
thinking.
at
The
least
loophole.
yeah, like she's not evil because she's not gonna
She
feed on
hasn't
anyone.
technically fed on anyone.
And so that's at least consistent with the book, but I really hate the whole like Thomas loves Justine even though she is food to him. And looking back at book 2, we find out for with Justine, she has mental health issues.
Hmm.
Like, and that is not discussed at all, nor is it discussed like the trauma of someone who has dealt with mental health, like mental illness, actually,
Hmm.
having her entire life ruined by someone feeding off of her and not being able to trust her own mind even more. that's just really gross to do to someone.
Yes.
And then we're supposed to love Thomas because he quote unquote regrets doing that to
I mean,
her.
Thomas from the beginning has been coded as the we need to feel sympathetic for him just because he helps Harry out type situation. And I don't know that we have encountered enough with this character to
Mm,
feel any kind of sympathy in that regard. We know quite a bit about how he feeds off Justine, and it's not really consensual, but also
definitely consensual because she loves him. But like,
definitely is because she loves him, but also he can seduce her with his vampiric abilities so that again has you questioning the consent of it all.
yes.
And yeah, I, I don't like it. It feels gross. I
And the whole coding as a good guy, I think, is the biggest problem. Because I think you could look at a situation like this where, like, Harry knows someone, and there's this discussion of, like, can you actually love someone if you're going to treat them like this? And is it actually consensual? Like, I think you could have a character where you have these types of conversations where, again, it goes back to, like, in society, what kind of power do you have? Like, and is this relationship technically abusive even if you love someone? I think that is something that could be looked at in a book series like this where
Mhm.
it's darker undertones. The problem is Thomas is supposed to be favorite little older brother. Like,
My thing is, I think that anybody that helps Dresden out or is considered a pal of Dresden, we're supposed to overlook anything that they do because they help Harry Dresden. So
yeah,
no flaws. Like Bob is terrible. Like,
yeah.
and we're supposed to just overlook that and be like, ha ha ha, Bob. Ha,
We're supposed to think
ha.
he's funny.
And it's like, Bob, what? And also,
Yeah.
like, we've talked ad nauseum about Michael. He does not great things, but we're supposed to think he's just fabulous because he's always dropping everything, including his familial responsibilities, to help Harry.
Yeah, it is a weird, like, Harry can do no wrong because he's Harry Dresden and he cares.
But it's
And
also a
that's,
situation where it's like we're supposed to allow Harry some nuance in his situations, but the other people where you're mentioning that this could have been an opportunity to make this a conversation about the morality of things, it's totally thrown away, and we're supposed to just be like, no, it's completely black and white here that Thomas and
and maybe
Justine
it's
are
not.
in
Maybe
love.
readers are like, no, we think about this too, but I'm just not sure that's happening
I
when
don't think it's happening too
when
much.
I can see the quotes that people highlight and it's love is patient, love is kind.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think it's happening too much. And also, I want to say that probably the speed of the book and all of the plot lines takes away
definitely.
from some of that questioning of these things
Yeah, I think that
because
that
it's just
definitely
like
doesn't help.
whiplash into another situation.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, and in this book, there are themes that we are supposed to be able to look at in a deeper manner, technically, because we're supposed to be looking
Okay.
at
Mm-hmm.
Ebenezer, License to Kill. He taught me
Ebenezer licensed. Oh.
I mean, he's 007. Like, that's what he is. So,
I know it just makes me laugh. It's so ridiculous.
but like, it's obviously setting Harry up for like a huge part of this novel, and the themes of like actually reading the text of the novel is Harry's belief in magic and what magic is supposed to be, and it is a
Yeah.
responsibility. You know, with great power comes great responsibility.
I mean, he loves Spider-Man,
He does
so
love Spider-Man. So like that's supposed to be the whole point of this book would be my argument. Like with great power comes great
hmm
responsibility is because Thomas and Justine, great power, great responsibility. With these women who want to like take out Arturo, like great
hmm
power as XY is great responsibility. I think that is supposed to be what this is and the disillusionment of that. But at the same time, it's just setting it up for Harry to be the one to take the mantle because he
Yeah.
cares. And then it's like, but then he's still the guy who has to kill people sometimes.
Yeah.
And the point is, it's not supposed to be appropriate when you have great power. We just don't care about it because sooner or later, Harry will be the one who gets to do it.
hmm
all roads lead back to Harry
to
being the
Harry.
best.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And how did you feel about just like the brotherhood of it all?
I mean, I've been waiting for it. I
Yeah, you knew it was happening. I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, we never really talked about like your actual reaction. What happened to Laura when you read that on the page?
Well, I listened to it,
Oh
so
yeah,
I was
when you
just like,
listened to that on the
are you
page.
serious? I was not too thrilled because I was just like, of course it's and then literally the lines that follow it are so annoying to me where it's like the one thing I've always wanted. I've always wanted uncles, I always wanted connection, I
Why
always
did he
wanted
start
cousins.
why did he start listing
Who
relatives?
always wanted an uncle?
I I have uncles. I don't like I love them, but not that much, Harry.
I feel like that's the weirdest relative to start with.
Like
Uncle?
it was uncle too. It was so
Yes.
bizarre. I
But
always
I
wanted an
hated those
uncle.
lines right away after that, where it was just like, because I often sympathize with Harry, where I'm like, you know what? He does long for connection. That's why he has trouble with relationships.
Hmm.
That's why he wants to know more about himself and why he can seclude himself and why some of this self-deprecating humor comes out and everything. I can definitely get on board with that, but this just became incredibly cheesy and it almost like takes away from my ability to feel for him because
Because
I'm just
he
like,
prefers uncles, and that's a really
I
hard
mean, uncles,
vibe
but
to
it's
get
just
on
like
board with.
he, the guy that questions so many things when he finds out, like immediately, he's like, you know what? We have a strong brotherhood bond. It's blood. I can
Uh,
celebrate holidays now with someone. I have a reason to live. He says something about a reason to live now because he has Thomas. And I'm like,
I mean,
what?
he is depressed. He was eating soup not too long ago in his car
I
during the
know.
summer,
And that's
but
why I genuinely try hard to be like, it's sad that he's finally got the one thing that he wanted, a family member, but the way that
it's
it's like
Thomas.
given to us and then cornily written, I'm like, no, oh no,
I always wanted an
major eye roll.
uncle.
I always wanted an uncle. No.
Oh gosh. I also like it's just so weird to me that that's where this relationship went because it also like does a disservice to Harry's poor mom because we learned so much about her
Yeah.
and it's all kind of cast aside for like for Thomas. Like
Hmm.
we find out she was this pretty powerful person who was
Hmm.
trained by 007. That's really cool.
Also, the fact that his name is Ebenezer McCoy. What the heck?
He likes his potions shaken, not stirred.
What the heck?
Like, I don't know. I just feel like there are so many cool parts that we never get to see. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know if we had just stayed on the lot for things other than random fight scenes, we could have had more cool stuff about like Dresden's view on sex work because he seems almost progressive, except for the fact that he only cares about the one woman because she has children.
She's the only one with a vested interest in the future.
Like, what? But
That's why he cares about her.
and
But
again,
I don't know. There was a lot of back and forth too with the scenes where that
yeah.
was a little bit much. Butcher did his typical where he had some hilarious moments, such as like the showing up at Dresden's house after they were fighting and being like, shouldn't go to my apartment, and then being like, we've been
We've
here
been
for
here
two
for two
hours.
hours. I did enjoy that. You and I both enjoyed that. That
Yeah.
was fun.
I also do like some of Dresden's like or Butcher's. Why do I always like think that Dresden and Jim Butcher are one and the same? I feel like these people are the same person, but they're not.
They're not.
Or they're not the
I
same
mean,
person.
have you ever seen them in the room together, though?
That's true.
It could be.
I've only seen pictures of Jim Butcher online and none of Harry Dresden, so they are the same person.
And sometimes it looks like Jim Butcher, but it's in a blonde wig.
I mean, honestly, the covers of the books, we don't see his face. It could very well
Oh,
be Jim Butcher.
this goes all the way to the top.
Oh my gosh, it's canon.
Uh,
Where was I even going with this? I don't remember now.
you said something about Jim Butcher. You like Jim Butcher's things. We were saying what we actually liked about these books. You
Oh,
think?
yeah, he works in like funny moments, and I like some of the humor and some of the call outs to like media. This one
Yeah.
had a lot of Looney Tunes call outs,
Yeah.
which was a little less fun, but I still thought that some of them were fun.
Yeah. I mean, I really thought I was so in it for a who done it. Like I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
this will be so
I know
fun."
you were.
And
That
then
was a letdown.
Trixie just like walked in and she was like, "Well, I did it." And I just threw the Kindle across the
You're like,
room
well, that
like,
sucks.
"Well, that who done it is over now." Because I think he is effective at like
Yeah,
building a mystery if he can focus on the mystery part of it.
yeah.
But he does a lot in these books.
There's a lot happening. I'm trying to think of like other major characters. So we learn more about Ebenezer McCoy, who
I actually think it's interesting to have a character who is allowed to use magic to kill people and like using it as a
I was
disillusion
not
thing.
upset by the Ebenezer McCoy stuff at all. I was more upset
Yeah.
by Kincaid because for
Ugh.
some reason in the last t time we like dealt with Kincaid, he didn't come off as like having a ton of personality. And now in this book, we get a lot of personality and it's just
It's all
terrible.
shit.
It's terrible. Or it's like, oh, we've gotten to know you more now and I don't like you. Okay.
Good to know. Thank you.
I'm glad we had this moment. Not.
And that's like we've dealt with the vampire stuff for so many books that I feel like I'm done with the vampires. And
Oh,
I
you're
would
not
like
done.
to I know I'm not done. Like we're never gonna be done with the vampires. It feels like it's an overarching like tone
Honestly,
poem,
I
but
see this
like
war dragging on forever.
I know, but it would be so interesting for like the war to be over and then Harry to switch to like, wow, the White Council is corrupt. That's an interesting storyline that we haven't really gotten to look at. Like Ebenezer is now admitting that
I wish we
the
could go back to fairies.
I know. He's like admitting that the White Council is hypocritical with the way they treat people.
I was gonna
And
say I long for the time of lip gurus.
I'd faint over a fairy right now. We're just all about alliteration. Um, Scorpus, Scorpus, Scorpus. I miss Scorpus.
Fuego!
Fuego. No, the fuego is still here, Laura.
That is still there.
It is constantly on the page.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think there are so many interesting things you could do with the world building. But like he's written himself into this hole of vampires, and I just
Do
want
you
him to
think
get
he
out.
loves vampires, or was this just extremely popular at the time?
I mean, it was definitely popular at the time.
Honestly, vampires have been popular for they go in such spurts, but it's like literally every couple years where vampires like go through a wave, I feel like.
Yeah, and I could see very much where like this is the male version of like Vampire Diaries and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and things like
Hmm.
that, where boys are like, well, I don't like that because there's a girl in it, but like I do like vampires if they're cool and their spit is magical.
I cannot take that take seriously.
But like I do think they were popular. I'm so sick of them and I think there's so many more interesting parts of
Yeah,
this world that we have not explored or we like
yeah.
barely got to explore. And yeah, it just feels like it's growing too fast, but also not fast enough.
I also feel like so much of the vampire stuff is just like not that unique. You know what I
No.
you mean? You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
I shouldn't say not that unique. I think that I do like the storylines in this book in terms of like the creativity involved in them. I'm just saying vampires in general, I feel like so from each property to the next, a lot of it feels reused.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yes, we've been here before. This one's an energy vampire. This one in love with this one. This one is fast. This one,
This one is fast.
yeah, this one
Yeah.
has bad hair. This one can't go out in sunlight. You know, like
Yeah.
all of the vampire things tend to feel very much recycled to me. And
I would
I think
agree.
even though there's different things happening here, it's hard to be excited about more vampires when it's just like we're used to them in this series coming in and kind of taking away from the plot lines that we're interested in, and
Yes.
then adding a little more of the same, where it's like even though there's different things happening, it still feels like, oh yes, well this also happened in such and such movie or
I also
book.
I also have something to admit. I can't remember Thomas's father's name and I refuse to learn
Lord
it.
Wraith.
Well, I refuse to learn that lore.
Oh, never mind. I didn't say anything.
Like I just don't care about his dad as a big bad. Like I don't. And I think I should because technically a lot of his character are all the like precepts of what you're supposed to hate in a villain. Like he's
Hmm.
terrible to women. He like made them be his like concubines. He like there's incest,
He's
but
yeah,
there's
the incest too. Like, ew.
but like he's literally just sitting there like twiddling his like fingers like an evil villain the entire time.
Hmm.
And it makes me care
I
about him
never get on
less.
board with like any type of character that's like all good or all evil. Like it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and it's just it was a really weird decision to have him be the big bad and have him be
Hmm.
this villainous where like
Yeah.
all of the bad things matter and therefore nothing matters. And I think that's why I just kind of let him go, whereas like, okay, fine, he is the most evil. But like then Butcher also refuses to kill any villain.
Hmm.
And that is so frustrating because then what are the stakes here? Like this isn't this isn't Spider-Man. This isn't where they
Yep.
can come back at any time. It would be good to have stakes that aren't the women of these properties.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Guys,
think
we
of
do
like
enjoy these books. They're roms, they're quick reads. I think
I
it's
think
just
it's when you get into the like
nitty-gritty.
nitty-gritty of it. Like when you start analyzing this, you're like, oh man, oh no, I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Because like I know that you mentioned in the last book, because like I liked the last book quite a bit because it was something that my husband and I listened to together and we were both like really feeling it and
Hmm.
having fun with it. And then when we started talking about it more, I was just like, oh no, this is actually not as good as I thought it was. I feel like I overlooked a lot here.
I felt that way about a lot of this book where I was like, I'm having a good time, and you're like, I'm not. And then later I was like, oh, I think Laura was right. Like, I think
It's
I should.
because if you look too deep into these things,
Yeah,
it becomes less fun.
it does. It really, really does. I
I feel
wish,
like there's
yeah.
more to talk about because there's just a lot that happens, but I can't think of what else to say, honestly. The relationships with Harry and his brother, that was a letdown for me.
They're gonna be besties
They're
now.
yeah, they're besties. He's like the new Billy the werewolf. Sorry, Billy, you've been replaced.
I miss
But
Billy.
I know I
I
miss the
thought
Drews.
I thought Billy was Thomas at the beginning of this book because I cannot remember these white people
Yeah,
names. And I got sad when I realized it was half brother. I was like,
Billy and Tommy.
no, yeah, Billy. They were Billy and Tommy were
Billy and
sweethearts.
Tommy, like
Um,
Agatha all
all
along, and you
along.
found a vision.
But I
I
miss.
have a one-track mind.
No, it's okay. You'll get to watch it soon, I promise. Yeah, it's hard with these books because I think you and I could do an analysis, but I think we'd be reading into the characters stuff that's not on the page because I'm
I
like,
want to say that, like, honestly, this is not a series that's meant to be delved into this hard. Like we, the fact that we have to keep like mentioning, we do enjoy this series. It's because like literally we have. I feel like we think about these things too much, and the more you talk about it, you start to find more little holes, and
yeah,
it's easy to just start to make
glaze
those holes
over.
wider, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To pick them open. And I don't know. I would rather I think the better way to go about this series is to just go in and not have any expectations and not take any notes. Don't take
You
notes,
don't take
readers.
notes because when you start saying it out loud,
It sounds really
you're
bad.
I've been doing talk to text, which is really effective for note taking with these because I
Hmm.
can go off, but like you don't have a good time as you're saying
No.
it out loud. You're just like, okay,
I
I
also wonder
guess.
too, like I know that you and I like taking notes on it and everything. Like if this was a different audience who didn't have like the context of knowing like I'm thinking like people that were born fairly recently,
Yeah.
that are reading this book and they don't have the context of like what media was like during that time. How would they interpret something like this? Because I think you and I have been a little generous at times saying like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I think that it harkens back to this age or whatever."
Right.
And I'm like, I wonder what other audiences would think of this if they were not
Yeah.
exposed to that type of media or different
I mean,
situations.
because I was a fan of stuff like this. So like if I had read this when I was the age
Hmm.
of the books coming out, I would have been
Hmm.
full-fledged for that. Like I would
Oh,
think back to some of
I
the
think
books
I
I
would have
read.
too.
Yeah. So I think it is like very much an effect of the time. So I'll be interested to see in the next section of this like
Hmm.
how they grow at, because like this series is very unique because it's long.
Well, and the
And
series is somewhat infamous for taking a turn in
yeah.
terms of its writing, where many people who recommended this series to us to cover on the pod have been kind of wanting to stick around just to see when we notice a shift.
Yeah.
And so it's coming at some point, I would assume. It's just when does it happen and what is that shift?
That is the question. Yeah. I'll be
Yeah.
interested to see where we go from here, but we won't be going there for a
Till next
while.
year.
Because guys, this is the last conversation. We're not having a wrap up like we usually
Mhm.
do because this is not wrapped up yet.
Yeah.
Like,
We're not wrapping it
um,
up. We'll be
so
back.
there are quite a
But
few books. We're coming back next
we
year.
haven't announced yet what the next series is. We only did it on Patreon.
Oh, so guys, we're about to head into indie mission. So make sure you're
Yes.
following along and our giveaway would have ended by now, but make sure
Hmm.
you are checking that out so that you can read along with us.
Covering the
But
Fires of Treason by Michelle Quirk.
whoop whoop. But our next series will be the Broken Earth trilogy by
Woohoo!
N.K. Jemisin. So this is a unique one because I've been dying to read these books and
Hmm.
I've actually pitched it before for us to do.
Hmm.
And it did not win. I mean, people love this, but it didn't win at the time. But then Laura
I
read
can
it.
understand why it did not win too. I feel like it doesn't have the same type of audience that certain series would have.
That
But
is very fair. But Laura started reading these and she asked me not to read them until we could
yes.
cover it on the podcast so that her experience will be a reread and mine will be a
Hmm.
first time through. And
Hmm.
so I have not looked at these books. I don't really know that much about what they're
Yeah.
about.
I'm
Um,
honestly considering if I should do the plot breakdowns for these just because I want you to somewhat remain spoiler free.
I think that actually might be what I suggest for it. I mean, we can always see how that goes. We're always
I have
open
the
to
audiobooks as well because I was listening to them to fall asleep because I love that series and I just thought the narration by Robin Miles was really good.
Oh,
So,
good. So, yeah, I think Laura might be doing the plot, which would be a little bit different for us
hmm.
because
Hmm.
usually that's my job.
Hmm.
But we're really excited for this. I can't wait. I feel like this is definitely like a one for you, one for us type of series where
Hmm.
we're like, look, we know you've been loving the Dresden stuff, but we're really excited to cover something like very
We're
energy
getting back into
shifting.
sci-fi too, so which
Oh,
that'll be
good.
interesting. So,
So yeah, that'll be what we're covering.
which this will
December
be
is
only our
usually
second sci-fi series that we've
oh,
covered.
that's
So,
pretty
because we
cool.
had Murderbot was our first, and then this would be our second sci-fi series. So,
And these are a bit little like thicker and like a little bit more intense. So start reading now because we're not
hmm.
going to cover them until January.
Yeah,
So get prepared. Like check
yeah.
it out. Make sure you're getting them from your local library.
Hmm.
And we just can't wait to cover something, new. And if you have read them and you know a mini series name that we could use, let us
Yes.
know because we will definitely take suggestions
I
and
was
it
going to
will
suggest Breaking the Earth.
breaking the earth. Oh,
Hmm.
well, usually we say like breaking into or something. So like breaking, I don't know, because usually we have something with the series, like we have the Year of the Dresden,
Hmm.
breaking into the Earth trilogy. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to be figuring that out.
I'm so
But
glad that we went with the Year of the Dresden. Like that was just a joke, and then people were like, "Just do that."
yeah, people were like, we liked it. And so, and honestly, like my
Which
fiance,
makes me laugh.
he's one of our biggest fans, but my fiance will constantly be like, but I'm bump, you're the Tristan, because I've trained him to say that now.
Yeah, it's gonna
So
be weird to not hear that at the beginning too.
I
Wow.
know you won't hear my but bums
As we go
anymore.
on, we remember all the times we had together.
It's just like us with
Harry
a
Dresden, yours forever.
Harry Dre well, that's the name of the episode, Laura. Harry Dresden Yours
That was
Forever.
a previous episode title,
Oh,
so it
really?
can't be.
I didn't
Yeah,
realize it was Harry Dresden Yours Forever. I didn't realize that was
yeah.
been one of
I
the
already did that
names.
one.
Oh,
That's
dang
why I'm
it. This
hearkening
is really
back to
good.
previous episodes with that.
Yeah. Oh, you're
We're
so
wrapping up
smart.
season 6A and
We're covering our indie
reflecting,
mission and
reminiscing, you know.
but it's not going to be until January, so make sure
Yeah,
you
the
have
new series we will start in January. So you've got time now to pick up N.K. Jemison's Broken Earth trilogy. The first one is the fifth season. The next one is the Obelisk Gate, and the final one is the Stone Sky. So three books.
Ugh, I love
You
it.
will not regret them. So
Yeah. We're building out the schedule now, guys. Laura has her handy dandy schedule scheduled.
I really
So
like scheduling stuff. It's always like something that I'm like, Hannah, can you make the spreadsheet? And then I like to fill it in, and I'm always willing to change it. I just like typing it in there for some reason because having it blank gives me a little anxiety, but having things in there gives me less anxiety.
it's also so funny because like Laura has less anxiety when it's filled in, but Laura also gets anxious about doing that. So every time she fills it in, she does text me, "You can totally change it, but it's filled in for right now." And I'm always like, I'm sure it's fine. Like I know how a schedule works. I trust you.
It's
That's
uneditable,
yeah, once it's in there, you can't change it. I'm locking you down. You
locked
can't make any
in.
changes. But yeah, so that'll be next year. But make sure you're following along for the
Yes.
Fires of Treason, and always make sure our December month is always a zany pick of mishmash. So make sure
Which
you're
we
following
have some
along.
cool stuff coming up in December too. So
Yes.
after our indie mission, we have an interview with Moses Otomi, and I was so thrilled that we were able to like my call outs on social media. We were able to get Moses on the
Mm.
pod, and it was so great. Made my absolute week,
He's
month, year. I love that series so much.
he was one of the nicest human beings. He looked at my query letter. He's so sweet. Like, oh gosh, what a gem. So
Moses is
I
fantastic. I
love him.
love
He's
the
a real
Forever
one.
Desert series, and we got to talk to Moses about the books, and that'll be coming up in December. We have our holiday movie, which will be fun, and then we're gonna do a year-end wrap-up too.
Yes.
So that'll be in there as well. And then we also have an interview coming up with K.E. Andrews, previous
Hmm.
winner of Indie Mission.
Yes.
So
For
lots of
her
fun
most
things to
recent
look
book. So
forward to.
really looking forward to that. Keep an eye out. Check out our website at OWWR Pod, as well as our social media platforms at OWWR Pod as well. We are on everything pretty much. So make sure you're following along. Please also make sure you're rating, reviewing, and subscribing. It
Yeah,
really
we
does
really
help. Or
appreciate
just
that.
like tell a friend to download all of our
Yeah,
episodes because you're such a
sharing.
big fan. And it always gives Laura a heart attack when someone downloads all the episodes in a single day. So,
I always wonder who
uh,
does it. Like,
yeah.
I always message Hannah. I'm like, is there a way we can figure out who did it? I'd like to send them a thank you card.
Be a detective. I'm gonna send them a an Hour Pod bookmark. So yeah, thank you guys so much for following along with us. Thank you so much for being a fan during the year of the Dresden. This one,
Yeah,
like,
thanks for listening. We really
yeah,
appreciate all of
this
your support. And yeah, it's been great.
yeah, it's been a great year of the Dresden. So for the final time in 2024, goodbye to the year of the Dresden. Ba-dum bum, ba-dum bum.
Bye.